Hey, welcome back everybody. You're listening to Ultimate Affiliate Marketing. I am your host, Paul Motley again. Here we go. So we reached Saturday. Gosh, the weekend, halfway through, incredibly exciting. But I want to talk about protecting yourself online. And specifically, I'm going to talk about Facebook, but it does kind of like borrow back to the heady days of SEO when it comes to Google. I mean, people quickly found out that, you could do a lot of what we call on-page SEO, which might mean sprinkling keywords in there. It might mean putting alt text on your photos so that you can put stuff to keywords there. You used to be able to actually have keywords put into the header of the website, and you could put all that there. And some of these sort of like totally white hat things that you could do was quite often almost enough, right? There's a few more things, obviously, I haven't mentioned. But those are the things that were enough to get ranked onto Google and get ranked well, because back in the day, no one else was really doing it. So by telling Google what was relevant on the page and saying, okay, right, well, I want, in basic terms, I want my web page to rank for X, Y, and W keyword, right? And that was kind of like it. You didn't have to jump through hoops. You didn't have to do all sorts of things like that. And people really made a lot of money by doing that because they were either able to sell their own products or affiliate products, right? And then Google goes and changes the algorithm. It realizes that a lot of people are doing it, and it goes, no, we don't want that sort of content. We're going to throw out these updates. And there's Penguin, the update, and a lot of businesses kind of like almost got wiped off the internet completely because the algorithm updates just they lost their rankings, and in some cases their whole URL were completely disabled as far as like Google's concerned, and the websites were gone off the internet pretty much. So it was really difficult for those businesses at the time. But the people that were able to adapt and learn and then keep trying, they came back, and businesses carried on as normal. But it does kind of like emphasize the fact that you do need to protect yourself online. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Facebook, and specifically as far as like getting engagement and stuff like that. There are basic rules. You don't want to include the URL when inside of your actual post, because that will reduce the amount of reach that your post can get. If you have to put a link in, drop it into the comments. So that's the way that a lot of people are doing it now. And sometimes they don't even do that. They actually put it into a direct message to people. If they're saying, hey, I've got this wicked free stuff, blah 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 blah, drop me a message and I'll get it to you, that sort of thing. But when it comes to ads, oh man, that is a minefield, seriously. I always think, like, if you've got a Facebook profile, right, there are settings inside of that where you can find out, and you can actually give Facebook a recovery person, someone that you know and trust. So you can add that in there, add this person, and if anything goes wrong with your account, if you get hacked or anything like that, they can retrieve the account for you. So it's always a good idea to make sure you've got that as a backup on your profile. But as far as your business page goes, again, Facebook these days is all algorithms, it's AI. It's very rare that you're actually going to get a human being actually looking at your ads, because let's face it, there's a lot of people putting ads out every single day, more than ever. So they physically don't have the manpower or the hours to trawl through every single ad, and it's all based on algorithms. And it can be really finicky as well, right? I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to come back to this. Tell you a little story about PayPal. Last year, PayPal shut my account down. And it wasn't because I was selling stuff or getting refunds or complaints or anything like that. All I was doing was receiving my commissions for affiliate marketing through PayPal. And for some reason, they said, oh, it's suspicious activity, even though I've been doing the same thing for the last 3 or 4 years. And they blocked my account and froze the money that was in there. At the time, it was well over $1,000. And it took me 6 months until they said I could withdraw it. Now, I'm pretty much, the amount that was there was pretty much small fry, because when I was reading about it and I posted it up into one of the groups I'm in, a lot of people came forward saying exactly the same things, and some people had astronomical amounts of money frozen. I think there was one guy there with 60,000, the other one with 100,000, and again they had to wait 6 months to get it back. And then, like me, we couldn't use PayPal anymore. And, that kind of hurt things a lot. It's difficult. So you've got to be ultra careful. So back to Facebook, right? Facebook business pages. I would say don't put your eggs all in one basket. Make sure that you do go ahead and create a couple of different Facebook business pages. Why? Because if you're going to run an ad, you get to choose which one you're running it from. So if one of the pages gets shut down for any reason, then you've always got another one to back up on. I mean, case in point here, I was running some, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you've listened over the last couple of weeks, I've been running some experiments on generating leads, and I connected it up to ManyChat, so I could, when people became a lead through Facebook, I was sending them a message, direct message, right? One was a welcome, and then a couple more was just adding value, sort of have you listened to this podcast? If you don't listen to the podcast, go check my YouTube, that sort of thing. And, they've tightened the restrictions up so much on that one as well, so that ordinarily you can't actually send people after 24 hours of them first sort of waving their hand and saying, hey, yeah, cool, you can send me a message. So I actually only had 3 within that first 24 hours. But because I was generating so many leads, I mean, at the time, and even now, it was up to 500 extra leads I'm generating a day using this particular strategy, which again, you need to go back and listen to some of the podcasts that I've done before. Oh, Facebook threw a wobbly and banned my business page from sending messages. And it's that's just great. So what can I do? Well, I can switch out the page that the ad runs from, and then copy the flow, if you like, from ManyChat, which is what I use to send the messages through, and attach it to that business page instead. So I can get around it that way, but who's to say that Facebook won't then go ahead and ban the messages from that as well? It's crazy. So it's almost like if you start becoming too good at something, they're going to hit you and they're going to say, no, you can't do that anymore. And even in the past, I've had my ad account shut down. I've had to appeal. Luckily, I've managed to get it back, and it is crazy. So the best advice that I could give people is make sure that you not just have a business page, but you also have the business manager, and add a couple of people onto that again, and trust. They don't have to have full control over everything, but just make sure that people are there, because if anything ever happens to your accounts, or Facebook decides to close one of your business accounts down, or closes a page down, or stops your page from running messages, or stop your page running from ads, then at least you've got a fallback and you can actually go back and have a look at it, just appeal it. By all means, that is one of the first things you should do. But as an ultimate backup is so that you've got access to other assets that you can then try and use in the future. And this is just coming from my experience, and I'm sure if you Google it, or drop a YouTube search on it, there's probably ways of, talking in a specific way. And I know there's some people who even put templates together to send to Facebook to appeal these decisions, because again, a lot of the times it's not a human being that's made that decision. It's the AI, it's the algorithms that have said, oh no, don't like that, we're chucking it out, and that's crazy. So in my own personal experience there, I think if I'd have built it up, and rather than suddenly generating 500 leads a day, maybe I should have just gone for 50, 60, and then gone up to 100, maybe then to 150, and done it over time, then it wouldn't register as, crazy activity and thought it was some sort of robot or whatever it was. And I know people that have actually had this happen to them if they are adding too many friends each day, for example, or sending too many people direct messages during each day. And, they get kind of like, we call it Facebook jail. So their accounts can get dropped off. And this can happen to almost anybody. And I've heard stories from people that are just getting started to people with massive accounts. This sort of shit can happen. So just be careful on what you're doing. Try and keep to the restrictions and the recommended amounts that people are saying. And one of the things that I generally recommend is if you are adding friends, try and keep it down to between 25 and 30 maximum a day. Same goes for sending messages. If you suddenly start sending 50 messages a day and adding like 100 friends a day, Facebook will think that you're using some sort of robot or auto software for it, and they don't like that, and they will stick you in their Facebook jail. And in some cases, I know that their accounts have actually been wiped, literally locked down. And I know a couple of people that's happened to twice, right? So just be careful out there and make sure you are still building your business, but do it gradually, because you got to stay within their guidelines, or not even guidelines, but experience. So draw on people like myself or other people that and their experience on what's good, what's bad, and what's the ugly. Anyway, I'm going to leave you right now. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. We'll speak again tomorrow. And like I said, if it's your first time listening to the podcast, make sure you go ahead and subscribe, because you get all my free information through the podcast, right? There is nowhere else you get this much content. And I do these every single day. So anyway, this is for you guys, and that's why I'm doing it. I just want to impact as many people as I can. And that is me out, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow.